Hello, this is Max. Discover the airy world of Cuba, where every room hides a deadly danger and the exit seems impossible. Don't forget to subscribe. The film begins with a man trapped inside a large cube divided into different compartments. He explores the compartments in his attempt to escape. In one room, he encounters a spray of an unknown liquid, initially mistaking it for acid. However, he discovers that it is actually sweet in taste and assumes it to be flavored water. Thirsty, he drinks it, only to realize that it is a powerful chemical base that gradually melts his body, resulting in his death. Meanwhile, it is revealed that the cube's rooms are constantly monitored from a remote observation room where two technicians, Eric and Dodd, work. They are unaware of who their superiors are and are strictly forbidden from accessing certain files unrelated to their tasks. Despite this restriction, Eric becomes increasingly curious about the events happening in the cube and tries to discuss them with Dodd. However, Dodd rudely dismisses his inquiries. Both Eric and Dodd know that the people in the cube are either condemned to death or are willingly participating in psychological experiments. During their work, they engage in regular chess matches, where Eric impresses Dodd with his exceptional mental calculation skills by predicting his moves. They are provided with tablets as their meals. One day, Eric and Dodd receive a significant assignment to record and erase the memories of a subject named Cassandra. Through her memories, Eric witnesses Cassandra and her daughter happily walking in a forest. However, their peaceful moment is interrupted when a masked soldier kidnaps them and injects them with sedatives. Just before losing consciousness, Cassandra manages to reveal the soldier's face, showing a distinctive cube tattoo on his forehead. Later, Cassandra regains consciousness and finds herself trapped inside the cube. She calls for help, but no one can hear her. Understanding that her fate is in her own hands, she begins to explore her surroundings. In a neighboring room, she is suddenly attacked by another captive named Robert Haskell, who quickly realizes that she is also trapped like him. In this room, Cassandra meets three other captives, Jellicoe, Meyerhold, and Bartek. They have been trapped in the cube for weeks, but none of them have any memories of their past or how they ended up there. United by their desire to escape, they decide to stick together and explore the cube, hoping to find a way out. They navigate through the complex chambers cautiously, testing each room for potential dangers. Initially, Bartek develops a method of throwing his shoe into a room and waiting for any signs of danger before entering. However, this method fails him when he finds himself trapped by strings that constrict and cripple his body. Despite the horrifying incident, the remaining survivors continue their search for an escape route. Through discussion, they realize that each door in the cube bears English alphabets, which they suspect represent coordinates of each room. They deduce that the cube consists of 26 rooms, correlating with the number of letters in the English alphabet. Acting on this discovery, they focus their investigation on the rooms along the Z-axis, which they believe to be safe. Meanwhile, in the control room, Eric becomes increasingly curious about why people are imprisoned in the cube. He offers to teach Dodd various chess strategies in exchange for information about the cube. Intrigued by the proposition, Dodd reveals the existence of a third auxiliary exit, but refrains from providing further details. In the following scene, Eric's curiosity reaches a peak as he discovers that Cassandra's consent form is missing. Hergely informs Dodd, expressing his belief that their actions are illegal. However, Dodd once again dismisses Eric's concerns. Their attention is captured by a newspaper article featuring Cassandra's photograph, revealing her to be a politician. This revelation makes Eric realize that the cube not only targets criminals, but also innocent individuals without their knowledge or consent. Shortly after, Eric and Dodd receive a call from their superiors, instructing them to proceed with an exit procedure. They learn that the procedure involves their former colleague, Owen, who is currently a test subject within the cube. In preparation, Dodd sets up a machine equipped with a camera and a yes-no button. As Owen approaches one of the cube's exits, he becomes trapped by thick chains. In this critical moment, Dodd poses several questions to Owen, such as his name and his belief in God. However, Owen fails to recognize Dodd's voice, indicating that his memory has also been erased. Owen answers correctly to the first question, prompting Dodd to press the yes button. But when confronted with the second question about his belief in gods, Owen denies it, causing Dodd to press the no button. Instantly, the fire engulfs Owen, leading to his immediate death. Witnessing this horrifying event, Eric panics, realizing that he and Dodd could meet a similar fate at any moment. He comes to the disturbing realization that the cube's existence is inhumane, and people are being forcibly placed inside without their consent. A few hours later, consumed by paranoia, Eric decides to venture into the cube himself. His intention is to save the remaining victims from their impending doom. He enters the unauthorized elevator, which takes him deep into the cube. Using his extensive knowledge of the place, Eric creates a detailed map and memorizes it before embarking on his mission to find Cassandra and the rest of the group. Meanwhile, a superior named Jax, accompanied by his associates, arrives at the control room. They are aware of Eric's entry into the cube and utilize controlling machines to track his location. In the midst of this, Jax orders Dodd to conduct a standard series of needle tests on Cassandra and the remaining captives. In another part of the cube, Jellicoe takes it upon herself to investigate her room, despite her reluctance. However, as soon as she enters, the door abruptly shuts behind her, trapping her inside. Cassandra rushes to open the door, but to her dismay, Jellicoe has already vanished. This unsettling incident reveals that the rooms within the cube are constantly shifting. Meanwhile, as Jellicoe explores her room, Dodd finds her and injects a sedative into her feet, rendering her unconscious. After hours of searching, Cassandra and the group eventually locate Jellicoe lying motionless. Meyerhold approaches her cautiously and discovers that her body is affected by some kind of infection. Suddenly, Jellicoe awakens and grasps onto Meyerhold, pleading for help. In a defensive reaction, Meyerhold pushes her away unintentionally, causing her to hit her head against the wall and resulting in her death. However, Meyerhold realizes that he had been scratched by Jellicoe while she was clinging to him. Unfortunately, before he can react, the infection begins to spread through his body. Recognizing the potential danger he poses, Robert suggests leaving Meyerhold behind, claiming that he will only slow them down or potentially infect them as well. Despite this, Cassandra insists that they cannot abandon him. Meyerhold pleads for their help, and Robert agrees, on the condition that he inspects all subsequent rooms before the group enters. Reluctantly, Meyerhold agrees, and they continue their journey. In the next scene, Meyerhold proceeds to check a room located beneath them, but Robert suddenly pushes him downward. It turns out that the room is a trap, emitting an extremely high-frequency sound that quickly kills Meyerhold. Cassandra expresses her disappointment and gets into a heated argument with Robert, accusing him of betrayal and selfishness. Just as the situation escalates, Eric enters the room and supports Robert's actions, stating that what he did was right because the virus was highly contagious. Eric then discloses his true identity as an employee and shares classified information about the cube. He explains that the occupants willingly volunteered for this experience, even though they have no memory of it. However, Robert vehemently denies signing any consent form and insists that he was a hard-working delivery boy before being abducted. In reality, Robert has no recollection of his past life. During their conversation, Cassandra asks about her daughter, prompting Robert to show her some sketches he made based on Cassandra's memories. Overwhelmed with emotion, Cassandra loses control and attacks Robert, but he reminds her of their need for him. Eric assures them that he is there to help and can analyze the coordinates to guide them towards the third auxiliary exit. Meanwhile, Jax's associates track Eric's location and relay the information to Jax. In response, Jax orders them to erase the coordinates of the room and set traps to capture the occupants. They successfully confine the group to one room and activate electrified walls to potentially kill them. However, a sudden power outage disrupts their control over the cube. It turns out that Dodd had a change of heart and sabotaged the operation, deactivating the traps and initiating a reset mode. The prisoners are given a 10-minute window to escape before a sterilization procedure begins. Eric realizes Dodd's assistance and sets a 10-minute countdown timer on his watch, leading the group towards the exit. In the control room, Jax discovers Dodd's betrayal and kills him as punishment. He then accesses a chip implanted in Robert's brain, gaining control over his actions. Jax manipulates the programming and orders Robert to eliminate the others before they can escape the cube. Robert becomes hostile towards his former companions and launches a brutal attack on them. However, Eric and Cassandra join forces, managing to subdue him. They press forward and reach an exit room, only to find Robert waiting for them. He attacks again, nearly taking Eric's life. But Cassandra intervenes, impaling Robert on a sharp object and finally killing him. The two hastily enter the auxiliary exit just before the sterilization procedure starts. Following their escape, Eric and Cassandra swim through water and emerge in a lake. They make their way through a forest that resembles the one Cassandra saw in her earlier memory. Unfortunately, Jax's soldiers arrive in the forest and start chasing them. During the pursuit, Eric is tranquilized and captured, but he momentarily holds the soldiers back, allowing Cassandra to escape. Eric regains consciousness in a surgical room, where Jax reveals that Eric has been convicted of high treason and had willingly participated as a test subject. Jax presents a consent form with Eric's signature, despite Eric having no recollection of it. The surgeon begins altering Eric's brain. In his altered state, Eric dreams of Cassandra reuniting with her daughter and praising him as a superhero. In the final scene, Eric, now mentally disabled, remains inside the cube where he encounters new captives. He repeatedly mentions the color of the room and expresses his desire to find a room with a different color. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.